There's a haunting truth we all learn eventually. No matter how far you run, you never really escape yourself. You can cross oceans, change your name, surround yourself with new faces, bury every piece of your past under fresh distractions, but your mind always finds you. It waits quietly, like a shadow you thought you'd outrun. And when the noise fades and the lights dim, it sits beside you again. The same thoughts, the same fears, the same quiet ache that whispers, "You didn't go anywhere." We live in a world addicted to escape from pain, from boredom, from ourselves. We call it reinvention, self-improvement, the grind. But behind the endless motion, the new goals, the fresh starts, the constant scrolling through other people's highlight reels, hides something darker, a silent terror that if we ever stop moving, even for a moment, we'll have to face what's been waiting inside, the mind we've been running from, the emotions we've buried, the parts of ourselves we don't yet understand. For most of us, the running begins early. As children, we learn to hide discomfort behind smiles. We avoid silence because silence feels too honest. We're told that being alone is strange, that stillness is laziness, that sadness means something's wrong. So we fill every moment with noise, every breath with distraction. But here's the cruel irony. Every escape from your mind only ties you closer to it, because the more you resist what's inside, the stronger it becomes.
Maybe that's why some people keep changing jobs, relationships, or cities, chasing a place where they'll finally feel different. Yet, no matter where they go, the same patterns repeat. The same self-doubt creeps in, the same fears resurface, the same emptiness follows. Because geography can't heal what psychology refuses to face. You can't hide from what lives in your own reflection. There's a special kind of exhaustion that comes from running from the invisible. You can't name it, can't see it, but it follows you everywhere. You start believing happiness is on the next horizon, in the next success, the next person, the next version of yourself. But every time you arrive, the horizon moves again. And slowly, a whisper begins to form. Maybe it's not the world that needs to change. Maybe it's you. The human mind is a master illusionist. When pain grows unbearable, it hides it behind ambition. When guilt becomes heavy, it buries it under productivity. When loneliness sets in, it fills the void with noise, the endless hum of online connection that never truly connects. But when night falls and the world stops demanding your attention, everything you've been running from comes back. The thoughts you've muted grow loud. The guilt you've postponed catches up. The fear you've ignored stands beside you and asks, "Now what?"
It's terrifying, being cornered by your own mind. Yet that confrontation is the beginning of liberation, because your mind doesn't chase you to punish you. It follows to be seen. It carries the wounds you've never cleaned, the stories you've never told, the emotions you've never allowed to exist. When you run from your pain, you tell your mind that its voice doesn't matter. But when you stop, when you finally turn and face it, something changes. The fear stops being a monster and becomes a messenger. There's an old story told in many spiritual traditions about a man who ran from his shadow. Each time he turned to look, it vanished. But when he faced the sun, it reappeared behind him. No matter how fast he ran, it followed. Exhausted, he finally sat down and realized the shadow wasn't chasing him, it was attached to him. His running only made it seem alive. When he stopped, so did the chase. That's what the mind is like. The shadow isn't evil. It's just the part of you you haven't stood still long enough to understand. Think about how many people spend their entire lives chasing peace, not realizing peace begins when the chase ends. They meditate to silence their thoughts instead of hearing them. They seek love to escape loneliness, not to share it. They chase success to hide from failure. But everything we suppress waits patiently for acknowledgement. The more we run, the deeper it burrows into our subconscious. And one day, through heartbreak, illness, loss, or simply aging, it rises again, uninvited but inevitable.
You can feel that moment when it comes. It doesn't arrive with thunder or drama, but as a quiet silence that forces you to notice the weight you've been carrying, the tension in your chest, the constant hum of worry that never fades. It's uncomfortable at first, unbearable even, because now, without distractions, there's nowhere left to hide. But that's where real healing begins. Not when you fix your mind, but when you stop trying to escape it. To stop running doesn't mean giving up. It means surrendering the illusion of control, realizing your mind isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. It reflects what you've ignored. And sometimes that truth hurts, but pain seen clearly becomes insight. Suffering, understood, becomes wisdom. There is no freedom without facing yourself, because every path away from pain eventually loops back through it. We treat emotions like wild animals that must be caged, but the mind doesn't want to be conquered, it wants to be understood. Every anxious thought is a signal. Every fear has roots. Every haunting memory carries a message about what still needs healing. The only way to hear those messages is to stop running long enough to listen.
The world may tell you that slowing down means losing, but what if stillness is the only way to win back your peace? What if confronting what's inside isn't weakness, but the highest form of strength? Because the truth is, your mind doesn't follow you to ruin you. It follows you to remind you. To remind you that you're still carrying something, that you've forgotten how to breathe without fear, that the version of you buried under all that running is still waiting to be found. If you've ever felt that restlessness, that ache that no achievement fills, no distraction cures, maybe it's not because you're broken. Maybe it's because you've never stopped long enough to meet the one person you've been avoiding, yourself. The raw, unedited, imperfect self that doesn't hide behind ambition or masks, the one who feels deeply, the one who's been waiting in the quiet. Your mind follows not out of cruelty, but out of love, a desperate, aching love that refuses to let you abandon yourself. And maybe that's the most haunting truth of all. You can leave everything behind, friends, cities, even memories, but you will always travel with your own reflection. It will meet you in every silence, every heartbreak, every pause between chaos. And until you face it, nothing outside you will ever feel enough. So stop running. Let the silence catch up. Let the thoughts arrive. Let the emotions you've buried come home. Because on the other side of all that running isn't destruction, it's understanding. Not control, but peace. And when you finally stop, you'll realize the thing that's been chasing you all your life was never trying to harm you. It was trying to bring you home.
There's a strange quiet that settles in when you finally stop running, a kind of silence that feels almost alien at first. You expect your mind to explode with chaos, for the old fears to surge like waves and drown you in everything you've tried to avoid. And they do at first. The thoughts you've buried begin to rise, the ones you've numbed with noise, distraction, or ambition. They circle you like ghosts, demanding recognition. But after the first storm passes, something unexpected happens. The chaos softens, the noise begins to fade, and in that raw, trembling quiet, you hear something new. A voice that isn't your anxiety, or your guilt, or your fear. It's softer, wiser, older. The voice you buried beneath all the running, your own. That's the moment most people mistake for breaking down. But in truth, it's a breakthrough. Because every human being, at some point, must face themselves, stripped of story, identity, or control. The running can delay it for years, even decades. But one day, life corners you gently. It may come in the form of a heartbreak that makes you question everything, or an achievement that feels emptier than you expected, or a quiet evening when you realize you don't even recognize your own reflection. And in that moment, all roads point inward.
You sit with the thoughts that once terrified you. You let the feelings speak. You realize your fear wasn't trying to destroy you, it was trying to warn you. That your sadness wasn't weakness, it was unexpressed love. That your anger was never hatred, it was unspoken pain. Everything you fought against becomes a teacher. And you begin to understand that peace doesn't come from winning against your mind, but from listening to it. The process isn't poetic. It's messy, awkward, and often unbearable. Some nights, you'll wish you'd never stopped running. You'll crave the old distractions, the comforting noise that used to drown everything out. You'll miss the thrill of chasing goals that made you feel alive, even if they were empty. But as you sit there, quiet, exposed, human, you'll start to notice something subtle shifting inside you. The same silence that once felt suffocating begins to feel sacred. It's not loneliness anymore. It's space. Space where truth can finally breathe.
That's when your perception begins to change. You stop seeing your mind as an enemy and start seeing it as a companion. You realize that every dark thought, every anxiety, every doubt, they all come from the same source that wants to keep you safe. Your mind, even in its most chaotic form, has always been trying to protect you from pain. But like a scared child, it doesn't always know how. So you learn to comfort it instead of condemning it. You talk to yourself the way you would to someone you love. You become your own caretaker, your own anchor, your own home. In that gentleness, you rediscover something that running had taken from you: self-trust. You start believing that you can face anything, not because you're invincible, but because you no longer need to hide from yourself. The fear loses its edge when it's met with understanding. The shadows lose their terror when you finally shine a light on them. And for the first time in your life, you don't feel like you're fighting to exist. You're simply here, breathing, aware, enough.
It's strange how stillness changes everything. You notice details you'd missed before. The texture of light in your room, the rhythm of your own heartbeat, the way silence hums with life instead of emptiness. You begin to appreciate small moments again. The warmth of morning coffee, the laughter of a stranger, the quiet honesty of your own company. And in those moments, you realize something profound. Peace was never a place you needed to find. It was a state you needed to allow. Every human being eventually learns that running only delays the inevitable reunion with oneself. The sooner you stop, the sooner the healing begins. And once you do, you no longer need the constant chase for love, for success, for meaning, because you've already found the one thing all of it was pointing to: presence.
So if you're tired, not just physically, but soul deep tired, maybe this is your sign to stop, to sit, to breathe, to let the storm catch you and teach you what it came to teach. Because your mind will always follow you, not to haunt you, but to guide you home. And when you finally stop running, you'll see that you were never being chased at all. You were being called back to yourself, back to silence, back to peace. And that's where true freedom begins. Not in escape, but in return. Not in forgetting, but in remembering who you were before the noise. The mind follows because it knows the way home, and it's been waiting for you to stop long enough to see it.
There comes a point, after all the noise has faded and the stillness has settled into your bones, when you realize that peace isn't something you find, it's something you remember. It's been there since the beginning, underneath the layers of noise, ambition, and survival. Beneath every anxious thought, there's a quiet knowing that whispers, "You're safe now. You can stop." But the world teaches us to forget that voice.
We're taught to chase, to compare, to fix ourselves endlessly, as if peace were a prize given only to those who earn it. When you stop running, you begin to see how much of your suffering came not from what happened to you, but from the way you kept trying to outrun the pain. You start to see how every distraction, every compulsive habit, every endless plan was just another way to avoid stillness. But the mind, in its infinite persistence, always brings you back, not because it enjoys the pain, but because it knows that peace can only exist in truth, and truth can only be found when you stop pretending.
You begin to look at your past differently. The mistakes no longer look like failures. They look like messages you ignored until life made them impossible to miss. The heartbreaks no longer feel like punishments. They feel like mirrors that showed you where love was still missing inside you. Even the moments of deep shame or loss start to soften. You realize that everything you once ran from was only asking for your attention. Every wound was calling you inward, toward healing, toward wholeness. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the fear begins to dissolve. You no longer feel the need to chase perfection or prove your worth. You stop fighting your emotions, stop labeling them as good or bad. You simply let them be what they are, visitors, not enemies. You start to live less like someone trying to control life and more like someone willing to experience it fully. The tension that once lived in your chest eases, the need to escape fades, and in its place grows a simple, steady calm. The kind of calm that doesn't depend on circumstances, only on honesty.
This is the quiet transformation no one sees from the outside. There are no medals for it, no applause, no announcement. It's just you, sitting in your own skin, at peace with the mess, the mystery, and the mind that never stopped following you. And in that acceptance, something sacred happens. You begin to trust yourself again. You begin to listen without judgment. You begin to live not as someone running from darkness, but as someone who understands that darkness is part of the light. The world doesn't change when you stop running. People will still disappoint you. Life will still surprise you. Pain will still visit. But your relationship to all of it changes. You stop resisting what is. You meet each moment with presence instead of panic. And that presence, that unshakable awareness, becomes your anchor. You'll notice that life starts moving differently. The small things start to matter again. The laughter of a friend, the smell of rain, the way the morning light touches your face. These are the moments you missed when you were running too fast to see. Now they feel infinite. Time slows down. Gratitude becomes effortless. You stop asking, what's next, and start asking, what's here?
And maybe that's what your mind was trying to tell you all along, that peace was never about escaping pain. It was about learning to hold it. That happiness was never about filling the silence. It was about listening to what the silence had to say. That the path you were searching for was never ahead of you. It was underneath you, waiting for you to stop long enough to walk it. So wherever you are now, if you feel lost, if you feel restless, if you feel like you've been running for years, take this moment. Stop. Breathe. Let the chase fall away. The mind will follow you, yes, but not to haunt you. It follows to remind you that there's nowhere to go, because everything you've been looking for is already here. Stillness is not the end of the journey. It's the beginning of finally living it. There's a certain beauty in finally standing still, a kind of sacred quiet that feels less like an ending and more like a homecoming. The noise of the world doesn't disappear. It just loses its grip. The chaos still swirls, but you no longer mistake it for a direction. You start to understand that stillness was never about stopping life. It was about meeting it fully, as it is. You see,
All along, you weren't trying to outrun your mind, you were trying to find safety. You were trying to protect yourself from the weight of memories, the sting of regret, the ache of what never was. But safety doesn't live out there, somewhere in the distance. It lives right here, in the breath you're taking, in the ground beneath your feet. It's been waiting for you to slow down long enough to feel it. Maybe peace isn't something you build. Maybe it's something you uncover, layer by layer, breath by breath. Beneath every mask, every defense, every illusion of control, there's a quiet truth that doesn't need to run, because it never left. And when you finally stop, when you let your mind catch up to your heart, that truth begins to speak. It says, "You are not behind. You are not broken. You are already home."
Look back for a moment. Every step you took, even the frantic ones, was leading you here. Every escape was a lesson in disguise. Every silence you avoided was a doorway you weren't yet ready to walk through. But now, you see it differently. You see that running was never failure. It was fear trying to protect a soul that simply needed time to remember itself. And now that you've stopped, the chase ends, not because you've caught something, but because there was nothing to catch. There was only ever this, the awareness watching the storm, the still point beneath the spinning wheel, the self behind the story. So if you ever find yourself running again, and you will, remember this. Your mind will follow you, not to pull you back into pain, but to guide you toward truth. It follows because it loves you enough to never let you forget who you are. Close your eyes. Breathe. Let the world rush past you if it must. You don't need to chase it anymore. You are the calm in the current. You are the stillness beneath the noise. You are what remains when the running stops. And in that stillness, in that quiet surrender, life finally begins to speak in a language you can understand. Gentle, honest, and infinite. Stop running. Your mind will follow you anyway, but this time, let it.